Hi everyone, I'm Tiffany Benson, one part of Team Benson, and it's a beautiful sunny day here in Phoenix, Arizona, and we are going to be harvesting herbs. Because if you guys have followed my channel, you'll know how highly I speak of herbs because I love herbs. And I've been letting my herbs grow out so that I can preserve them. So over the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be showing you guys every Sunday how I preserve an herb and what I use that herb for. So some of it will just be for cooking, some of it will be for teas, but they'll both be preserved in a way that's going to be easy to make a tea or easy for cooking. So keep watching! Alright guys, so I've really been letting things grow out here in my garden, mainly my herbs that I know that are going to bolt once it starts getting really hot. So I've started to see a couple of them flower already, and I've been trimming them back so that they don't completely flower, but I have a big huge colander and it's time to see what we got. Okay, so as far as cilantro, I have two big cilantro bushes. This one, and then I have a couple because I have that one, and then I also have these two. Oh look, the lizards are all out. So I'm going to be grabbing these and cutting these back as far as I can, and I'm going to try and see if I can get another batch of cilantro out of it too as well. So we'll cut them back and then they'll grow back. Okay guys, so I'm going to take you in a little bit closer so you guys can see how I'm going to trim these cilantro. So as you can see, this one is a huge cilantro with a big stalk on it. So this one is getting most of the plant's energy, so I'm going to actually cut this one all the way back. The rest, I'm going to decide, okay, so if this one is kind of coming off of this one, as you can see, so I'm going to cut that one off, and then the rest I'm just going to cut at the tips. So I'm going to cut them at the tips and then leave at least a couple of leaves so that it can regrow. Okay, so now you guys can see I really cut it back. When we go in here, I took basically all the stems off of it. There's two cilantro plants, one there and one there. This is the biggest one. So I took all the stems and all the little side shoots off of it and just left one stem to continue to grow. This is the lovely pile from the first plant. It's a lot of cilantro. This is going to be amazing. Okay guys, so I got the cilantro out of the first bed. As you can see now, there's a little bitty patch right here and then a little bitty patch right here. And if you go into here, you can see I took all the bottom shoots off of it, all the side shoots, and just left the tops. Not only are we still using the cilantro for a little bit for breakfast, for eggs, and for Taco Tuesday, but I also want to try and get a little bit of coriander seeds. So I'm going to just let that continue to grow, but as you can see, this is just the first two plants, and I have a lot of cilantro to preserve. Okay guys, so this is where I'm going to admit that I really overestimated the amount of cilantro that I had. I came out here for cilantro, rose, and dill, but this is just the cilantro. So as you can see, this is going to be a lot of salsa, a lot of just everything. So I'm going to go here in the shade because it's a little bit bright. Maybe you guys can see it better, but look at this. That looks like a whole bowl of weeds. But it is amazing. It smells amazing, and the plants are still going to live on for a little bit longer, and then hopefully I can get another big batch like this out of it so that then I'll have enough cilantro to last us for a long summer of not being able to grow cilantro. So next I'm going to come and I'm going to get, there's that motorcycle right on cue. So next I'm going to come and get the dill and some rosemary. I think the dill bush is a little bit huge, but the rosemary I think is going to be a little bit smaller. But let's go put this inside so it's not sitting in the heat while it is fresh cut. Alright guys, I'm back with the new bowl. Let's go get some dill and some rosemary. We're going to go attack those two plants next. And probably the parsley too as well, because it's getting a little unruly, as well as the oregano. But we'll probably have to come back for another bowl for those. So this is the dill plant that is getting the next big axe. I have been cutting a lot actually from this dill plant, but I want to make sure I preserve it before it starts getting the caterpillars that love it. So I have another dill plant that's smaller over there, but this one is the biggest one that I have, and I want to make sure that I have dill for when we have cucumbers, and then I can make pickles. So time to get some from here. Okay guys, so from the looks of it, as you can see at the very bottom, most of the dill's okay, but at the very bottom there are a little bit of aphids on the leaves that were not getting the most sun and the most attention. So what am I going to do about these little guys? So before you guys start planning a massive assault on your plant and on your garden when you see aphids, I want you to realize that plants get aphids. Plants get what most people consider to be bad bugs. And they get those because you're not using the plant enough. So if you're not going to take all those leaves off of the plant, then as you can see, those bottom leaves are the ones that are getting attacked because those are the ones that are not as healthy. They're not going to be as viable to be able to produce seed with. So the plant is getting them out of the way so that then they can produce as much seed as possible. So what I'm going to do is majority of the dill plant completely fine. It has no aphids on it, nothing. So I cut off the majority of the plant because one, I'm going to preserve it, and two, that's what the plant's trying to do, is clear out all those bottom leaves so we can make some seeds. But I'm also going to take those bottom leaves and I'm just going to throw them in my compost bin, because the aphids are going to eat the dead leaves, the dying leaves, and the lizards are going to go in and have something to eat. That's going to be an easy meal. So I'm going to show you guys where I'm putting them. So this is just my little compost bin, and it is attracting, well, all of the plants that I have with aphids on it. I just throw them in there, and the lizards are in here every single morning, and they're just eating all of the little bugs, and then also it's composting down so that then hopefully, fingers crossed, I can make soil. Still waiting on the worms to put in there. Hopefully I'll get them this week, but I just have to get a cover for it. And then the geckos will get kicked out and it'll be the worms' job. Okay guys, so now I have another giant pile of dill. So as you can see, that's a lot of really healthy dill that didn't have aphids on it. So if I'd freaked out and just poured some type of pesticide all over the dill to kill it, I might have harmed all of this, when I could just pull it and actually preserve it and give the plant just a little bit more space and time to be able to grow and not feel so confined in the space that it's in. So now, since I did see aphids and I do see a little bit more at the base of the plant, I'm going to take just a water hose and I'm just going to go in and I'm going to spray all of them out. And then I'm going to take this dill and I'm going to soak it in some water and a little bit of vinegar, just to make sure that there aren't any aphids on it. Even though I don't see any, nobody likes to eat a bug. They just don't. So I'm gonna go put this in the house, and then it's time for the rosemary and the parsley. This is a lot of herbs, guys. I think I let these go a little too long. Okay guys, so as you can see, there's some aphids right here at the base, and I really cut this plant back to where it's just enough for the plant to just keep growing. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my water hose and I'm just going to attack them. So I'm just going to spray down the plant really good. And make sure I get all sides of the plant. And then as you can see, all the aphids are off. Now, if I had went in and just attacked this plant with different types of pesticides, I also would have been attacking the cilantro, who doesn't have any aphids at all, because the cilantro is still pretty healthy. It's not overgrown and it was fine in the space that it is. Just pull over. So I would have been taking a lot of pesticides and putting on a perfectly healthy plant to try and take pesticides that I could easily just trim back and spray the aphids off, because as you guys can see, they're all off. So I'm just going to keep checking this plant. If it needs another spraying, then I will do that. I doubt it, since, I usually do this a lot. Okay guys, so when you're looking at rosemary will tend to get really woody at the base. So if I can come in here, you'll see that it's starting to get a big stalk on it. So I don't want to cut my rosemary bush from the base because one, I want it to continue to bush out and grow into a bigger bush. If you guys have been watching my videos, I grew this rosemary from a seed starting last year. So all this year it has been growing out bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And so I just want to basically give my rosemary a haircut. Rosemary grows all year long in Arizona, so I never really have to do anything to not have this rosemary plant survive. So I'm just going to give it a haircut and let it continue to grow. Okay, so as you can see, I just gave the rosemary bush a haircut. It actually did equal a lot of rosemary in here, but I just needed to cut off the tops, and now wherever I cut, it's going to bush out twice. So basically it's going to make a V wherever I cut at. So that's how you get your rosemary bush to bush out into a full bush. It's just kind of give it a haircut, let it grow, and then give it a haircut and let it grow. But in the meantime, I'm going to take all this rosemary and I'm going to preserve it. Okay, so I was thinking to myself, you know what, I'll just let the oregano grow out a little bit more. But then I realized that I don't have any Italian seasoning in the house. So this is going to be a long day of preserving and making videos, guys. But you know what? Hey, that's why we garden, so that we have all of our own fresh food. So let's get this oregano plant. So I grow a few different types of oregano. This one is my Italian oregano, and then I have Greek oregano in there and Greek oregano in there. So I'm going to, excuse me, I'm going to cut a few of these just so that I can dry them. I like to have Italian seasoning for my spaghettis already blended up. So I'm going to start with cutting some of these and then also going back there to that parsley. All the way back there. And that way at least I'll have some ready in case it flowers and doesn't make it during the summer where I have the basil growing in full bloom. So the same thing with the oregano. As you can see, it's actually trying to maybe flower. I don't know 100%, but it looks like it might be trying. So I'm going to go through like I did with the rosemary, and I'm just going to give the oregano a haircut. So I'm going to cut it all the way down to where I don't see where it's kind of trying to flower out. So basically, this one is a good example, where it's not going into a V like how this one is, where it's going into a bunch of like little petals, but where there's only just ones coming out the side. So I'm going to cut that kind of right there so that then I just get the tops of it. Okay, so as you can see, I just cut the basic top off of it, so now it's a lot shorter. This one I want to be able to grow out a lot more. It wasn't as old of a plant as the cilantro and the dill were, so this one still has a lot more growing to do. So I'm just getting the tops off of it so that it doesn't bolt or flower, and then I'm just going to let it continue to grow. Okay, so for the parsley, that one I basically just grabbed all of the outer leaves and chopped them and then left the main kind of center stalk. This one is another one that's a pretty young plant, so I'm just going to let it continue to grow and then kind of cut on it as I need it or as I decide to preserve that day. So that is going to also be in the Italian seasoning, which will be dry. So the last thing I noticed is that the sage was getting a little bushy. Now this sage is underneath this artichoke, which looks like it's getting a few aphids, so I'm going to have to spray this artichoke down. But I want to make sure it's not competing so much for nutrients, which is why I think that artichoke is getting a little bit of aphids. So I'm going to cut this sage back a lot too as well, and I'm also going to use this for the cooking video for tomorrow. Alright guys, this little pot smells amazing. Little basket. I have sage and parsley and rosemary and oregano in here. It smells so delightful. I might even make like a poultry seasoning too, because I am going to be drying a bunch of everything as well as preserving it different ways. So let's take this inside, and then I'm going to grab the fish fertilizer, because after doing big chops and things like that, you want to give the plants a little bit of extra love. So I'm going to go grab the fish fertilizer and put this in the kitchen. Okay guys, so this is the fish fertilizer that I use. It's called Alaska Fish Fertilizer, and it is organic too as well. I don't use any other fertilizer other than just straight compost on my garden, and I like to keep my garden as healthy and organic as possible, especially because I have a husband that likes to come back and eat out of the garden without washing things off. So the fish fertilizer, he'll know that it's out because it'll smell like fish, and it'll also not do anything on to the plants to where it's not going to hurt them or put any kind of residue on them. And I'm going to water at the base. So I'm going to take just this, pour it into my watering can, and fill it up with some water. I'm only going to take like a couple of like teaspoons, or maybe like 2 tablespoons per gallon. Okay guys, so I have the big container of fish fertilizer water, and I'm just going to put it at the base of the plant. So not on the leaves, just the base. And I'm going to give each plant a little bit of love and attention here. Just put it on the base. Now I'm not putting this all over my garden, just because there are a couple more things that I'm going to harvest, but just the plants that I pretty much hacked at today, I'm going to give a little bit of love and attention to. So just the base of the plant, guys, not all over the plant. Okay guys, so I'm trying to get a good angle at this, but I don't think there is one. So I am going to, now that I have everything cut and I have the garden watered and fertilized for the plants that I cut, I'm going to now wash all of my herbs. So I'm going to start with the dill just because I saw a couple of aphids on that plant where I didn't see any aphids on the other one. And I'm going to have 2 empty sinks. So I'm going to start off by rinsing out my sink, and I just have a towel in here. So I'm going to rinse out all of the sink, just get every corner on it, and just make sure that it's clean. So both sides of the sink, I'm only going to fill up the sink one side at a time, because I'm going to wash the dill in vinegar. So after I do that, after I get it all rinsed out, then I'm going to take just some regular white vinegar, and I'm going to wipe down the sink. So I'm not going to fill up the sink all the way with water, because I don't want to have water everywhere, but I'm going to wipe down every part of the sink all the way up to the top. So that just makes it to where if there are any aphids or anything like that that are trying to climb up, they're not going to want to climb on vinegar. It smells. And this will also kind of clean and make sure my sink is nice and clean. So now that we have that, and the whole sink smelling like vinegar, now I'm just going to take the plug, and I'm going to plug the sink, and then I'm going to let it fill with kind of just like a lukewarm water. So not too hot, not too cold. And then I'm going to take apple cider vinegar, just because I like the taste of apple cider vinegar and it has a lot of health benefits. So I'll turn that off while I'm talking. It does have a lot of health benefits for your stomach, and anytime I can enter in apple cider vinegar into my family's diet, I try and do so. So we're just going to shake it up. This one has mothers, which means it has the cloudy stuff at the bottom of it. So I'm just going to shake it up, and then I'm just going to pour it in here. I don't know how much I just poured it in there. And then I'm going to fill it up with water. And then I'm just going to start adding the dill in there. So some of my dill is way too big, so I'm going to grab some snips real quick and I'll be right back. Okay guys, so I'm just going to kind of push it down and kind of like push it away. As you can see, like there's like some little bit of dirt, maybe a few aphids that are coming off of it, but this will help kill anything that's on them, any type of bugs or anything like that. And then I'm going to let it soak for a couple more minutes, and then I'm just going to put it on this side, which will be in just fresh water. So then I can rinse off anything that's left on it, and also the apple cider vinegar. Okay guys, so in efforts not to make this video hours long, I'm going to break up how I preserve things into a series. So every single Sunday I'm going to have a new preservation, I think is the name, is the word, way of how I'm going to preserve my herbs. Now I preserve my herbs not only just in like regular drying, which I will dry some of these, but I'm also going to do them in butters and oils and water and just different things like that, to where then I am able to just pop them out and then put that cube on top of chicken or fish and just pop that in the oven. So one of the ways that when you are working just non-stop like I am, I work pretty much about 70 hours a week, but I still want to make sure that my family is eating fresh herbs. So I like to preserve them in a way to where I'm not every time getting out the blender and getting out this and getting out that and creating all these different things in order to put that on there. And also I want to preserve all the herbs that I have in my garden that aren't going to be in season later on. So the best way to do that is to create whatever that concoction is that you want to use for flavoring for your dinners or for seasonings for your dinners, and then that way they're already there and already available to you. So I hope this helps. I hope you guys learned a lot about how to pick your herbs, how to grow out your herbs, and then how to wash your herbs. Next week we're going to be doing the first herb, where I will go over what the herb is and also what it's used for, because a lot of the herbs have medicinal purposes and you can create them different ways to make teas, which I will be making too as well, and kind of helping everybody kind of live a better, healthy life. So until next time, make sure you guys are growing yourself a small space garden, because even a small space can provide you tons of food. Thank you. Bye.